been an interesting 3 years here, I can tell you that. Good morning, my name is Marcel. I'm living in Russia and I'm just out for a walk today, so I figured I would make a video. It's Monday morning. I'm living in Russia, in Bryansk region, in the city of Bryansk. I woke up this morning, 6 o'clock, studied some Russian language, studied for my Russian driver's test, and I have classes at 1:30 at the university here for my Russian language. So I like to prepare, work on all the lessons several times before I go, even read ahead a little bit so that I'm not caught completely unaware of the next lessons that are going to be presented to me. It's a nice time of year. It's starting to get better weather. The temperature is still a bit chilly, especially in the morning. Right now it's about 10 o'clock in the morning here. And it's a time of year where we bring in our vehicles and we have to change our tires back to summer tires, because in Russia it's mandatory to have the winter tires, which I completely agree with. I mean, for me, because I go to the cottage and I'm off-roading, once I get, within about half a kilometer to my dacha, I need to have really good grip. So having those metal studs on the tires really helps. Again, I travel to the dacha for, in the winter, and it's off-road, and at this time of year it's very muddy, so it was essential for me to have a 4x4. So the vehicle I chose, which was relatively inexpensive, was a 2023 new Niva Vaz Niva Travel. It actually operates 4x4 in 4x4 all the time, and it has a high and low, I guess, differential. I don't know the terminology, but yeah. So the vehicles had to be changed, so we did that yesterday. And when I brought it in, the tires were locked. They really had to bang the tires to get them off. So they did a lot of jobs. They found that a couple of my rims were bent, I guess. I don't know how that happened. Perhaps 4x4 through deep trenches and bent the rims. But they actually repaired and rebalanced everything for, a very reasonable price. I think I paid just under 4,000 or 4,000 rubles. But that was swap tires from winter to summer, put on new weights, and actually fixed the bent rim. And they had a heck of a time taking them off. So they actually cleaned everything, the corrosion off of the back, so they wouldn't stick anymore, and do proper lubrication. And with regards to my truck, it's just about to break, I believe, 20,000 kilometers. So I need to bring it in for servicing soon. And I'm switching from a Canadian license to a Russian license soon. So I'm working on that. So I have to learn all the terminology in the Russian language, at least that when I see a word, I recognize what it means quickly. And then I will just repeat every question until it's probably almost impossible to trick me in a test. The test is done online. It's all in Russian language, so no excuses. I got to learn it, and that's what I've been doing. That, as well as basic Russian language courses, so that I could apply for my permanent residency. Currently, right now, I have my temporary residency with a lower level of Russian language certificate that I acquired. But the permanent residency is a little bit higher level standard. So I'm doing this intensive university course, one-on-one training with really awesome teachers. They're really good at teaching you how to read, write, communicate in the Russian language. And I would say, since I've started that, what has been my best improvement, it's actually the handwriting style of Russian language. So you have to learn Cyrillic alphabet, which was a big challenge. But once you get past that, it doesn't stop there. There's the Cyrillic part and the handwriting part that is essential, which complicates the letter base even more, because some letters look like T's and M's, and it can be really mixed up in your head very fast. So I started really on the beginning just handwriting all the language, but now I'm how do you call that? Handwriting, writing in big font, whatever. And then now I'm handwriting. So that really aids and assists your language development, because you constantly reinforcing certain words. And then the other big thing is basic nouns is essential to learn imperative and perfective cases in Russia. So I spend a lot of time on that. And still the hardest language for me is to actually hear and listen to a native speaker and understand what they're asking me or saying to me or talking about on television. But it's getting better and better every day. I mean, I've been here 3 years. I started learning the Russian language a long time ago, not intensively. I would say now I'm more in an intensive phase of learning. And the reason why, like I said, was to get that permanent residency test done, because that's the only thing I need to accomplish to get permanent residency left over, to submit an application. But let's be honest, the most important reason to learn a language is to function socially and to be able to communicate with locals when they communicate with you. So at least I have an understanding of what they're talking about, and I can give quick, easy, simple responses that I can, and I pretty much can do that now, you know, especially when I'm shopping or whatever. And when you're in a more day-to-day function, you of course can use your phone, but I try not to always use my phone. And, you know, if you can't make it, fake it. So I do a lot of that, but I get a good grasp of what people are asking me now. It's if they don't use the basic language, like let's say they use a number and they add a colloquial, you know, additive to the number, then it complicates it for me. And of course, native speakers in this region are, native speakers in this region, I think it's 4 or 5% of the population who may know English. So they're not that used to people who don't understand the language. And that's not their fault. There's just not that many international people here. So what happens is they'll often not know the skills to communicate with an international person, which means you have to slow down as you're speaking, let the person understand what they're saying, you know, and slow it down, pause. What the heck did they say? Let me think about it. Let me not panic, give a proper response. So yeah, I mean, it's very challenging, but I mean, I want to function socially, which is even more important than the permanent residency in my point. I mean, these are all important life things, but the social interactions are much more my goal, to be honest. And what am I sacrificing for all this right now? Well, I could spend my days renovating at my dacha right now, which I want to do. It's what I like to do, but I'm putting that on hold because I think it's more important to learn language. Because right now I'm in the phase where I'm almost ready to put the roof on the patio / terrace, and I'm keen to do that. So I'm hoping that I can take some breaks to get out there and do that. So, you know, I have to order wood. I have to order wood to do that. I have to order the panels and get them delivered. And of course, I'm not going to be able to do that kind of stuff with my Niva. So my nephew here has a truck, and we would order the wood boards, which are like 6 meters long. So you order boards here, they're 6 meters long, and it's quite heavy. So obviously my Niva can't do that. And it's the mud season as well. So getting a truck full of wood to the cottage right now is really not optimal. So we're going to wait. But I tell you, as soon as there's a crack in the schedule to go and do that, I will be doing that. Anyways, he's busy with his projects at home, and I'm busy learning, and I got to do my driving test courses. And actually, I think I have to do the actual driving test and the computer test. So actually, and it costs a bit of money to invest in all that, but I mean, I think it's fun in some ways. Certainly rewarding to start recognizing the complexity, the complex language actually for driving. There's a lot of complex language used, not just simple basic levels. So that forces me to learn that. Oh, what a nice walk. My microphone actually is performing beautifully because it's quite windy right now. And prior to doing this video, I actually turned it on and see how well the microphone is muffling the wind, and it's doing a great job. So yeah, my name is Marcel. I've been uploading on TikTok mostly because YouTube has been very, probably because I'm in Russia, very unaccommodating to my videos, really not having the kind of views I used to have when my account was linked to Canada. And I was actually, when I first started my renovation channel for my dacha, I actually paid the premium every month. I paid for actually advertising and to promote my channel, and I quickly grew to 10,000. But you know what? I kind of got upset because I could see that YouTube was, you know, I don't know if it was whether I was doing the channel from Russia or that, you know, my content was, you know, undesirable to them. But what I could see is like, why should I give YouTube all this content when it's going to be almost impossible to collect any rewards, as well as they're throttling a lot of information, or, you know, shadow banning when I start talking about an opinion on geopolitics. So I decided to mostly go on TikTok. So I'm not monetized yet in TikTok, but we're getting there. I'm just learning about TikTok. I did the live, mandatory, essential front beginning live streams that are not popular at this point, but they will probably start getting more viewers. But let's be honest, I'm in Russia, so right now it's 10 o'clock, and you know, it's super early in the morning in the West. And I think most of my viewers in TikTok are from the West and Canada and Europe, so that's okay. They're more on time in Europe, but we'll see. Give it a shot. You know, help my channel grow by subscribing, or, you know, liking, commenting, engaging. I would really appreciate across that engagement in my TikTok channel. I'm trying to grow it, pass it on to people. What I can promise is I will try and make my content very informative, give you a better understanding of how it is to live in provincial Russia, where I'm in Bryansk right now, which is on the border with Ukraine. And I believe we're still under a certain amount of emergency measures. But to be honest, I don't even pay attention to that so much anymore. It has certainly calmed down a little bit with regards to the previous months, where we had lots of drone interactions, lots of rocket interactions that were adverse, and seems to have calmed down a little bit, but we can't let our guard down. And certainly the forces on the borders are making sure that things are being defended, I guess. Let's hope that there's positive outcomes in the future here. It's not looking good. If you look at my TikTok and my videos, you'll see that I've started a segment called The Trajectory. And I chose that title because I think it's fitting for what has been going on in terms of the trajectory of geopolitical relations in the world vis-a-vis conflicts. And that has started a long time ago. That is my position, as I've been coming to Russia since 2009. After I got married to a Russian national, and I met her in 2007. So I've been keenly aware of international relations for some time, and fully aware of things were being developed, meetings that had gone on unsuccessfully, agreements that were broke down to conflict and breaking ceasefires, or, you know, extreme political movements that have occurred in, I guess, a decade that had a rise of an extreme neoliberalism from the West that was exporting all kinds of non-traditional values to countries that were really against that kind of ideology. So this is where we're at. I guess eventually the hammer came down. So we're in that state of affairs right now, where the hammer's down, and we can only see how the power brokers are going to react. It's very interesting now what's going on, especially March 2025 now, when we're in the Trump administration going on, and we have the politics, Canada and the US happening, which blows my mind. Like, we have allies that are like at odds with each other over trade wars and tariff wars. Who would have thought that this is going on? And for all intents and purposes, it could be just a big game to try and deceive, again, countries like Russia and China. Wow, it's just, when every day I watch the news, the angles that are being presented are just blow your mind. Just blow your mind. It's like not even understandable about what's going on. Like, wow. Just, you know, when we talk about the US talking about Greenland, or the meeting with Zelensky in the White House, or, you know, this idea that a ceasefire should occur under the conditions that are happening, just delusional. And, you know, I'm amazed at how much sometimes people are so focused on blaming everything on one person, where it's like going to actually cause more problems for people who believe that in the future, because, you know, this is a lot more complicated than just one person. So it's so benign, so asinine to think that, and to blame only one person for what's going on. It's been an interesting 3 years here, I can tell you that. Yeah, and I moved to Russia well planned before the SMO started. It didn't stop me from coming though, because I'd already been to Russia lots of times, and I understood the conflict was going to eventually be severe. I think it was going back 2012. I already knew, like, one day we're going to be encountering the issue with the Navy port in Sevastopol and Crimea, that the Russians, from an ancient perspective, will not give that territory up and do something about that if it gets challenged from Ukraine. So, yeah, from the expansion of NATO to, the port of Sevastopol in Crimea, those are probably the more true origins of this conflict, and as well as a deep divide within the Ukrainian culture, from east to west. That east to west divide is just insanity. It'd be like Quebec and French-speaking Quebec against English-speaking Quebec, and then there's no accommodation of languages at all, and causing conflict where militias start fighting each other. That's sort of what happened, I guess. It's gonna be difficult for me to speak at length about the conflict without thinking it through, because I don't want to come across as a fanatic either way. And I'm definitely always pro-peace, but operating in a world where geopolitics needs to be functioning with realism at heart. So if you want to know what that means, you have to listen perhaps to some videos, lectures from a professor at the University of Chicago, John Mearsheimer. He's probably got the best grasp of everything going on, because it's a lot more than just the SMO and conflict in Ukraine. We look what's going on in Israel and the Middle East. Those are very difficult topics to talk about without being, shut down. Your opinion doesn't want to be heard by mainstream media or the powers that be. And I'm not going to give an opinion on what I know about Israel and the situation with Gaza, leading to the Houthis, to Iran, back to Syria. Wow, it's like quagmire, especially when you insert the influences of the West there. And Syrian region, where it's split up 3 ways and 4 ways now, and the involvement of Turkey, a NATO country. Yeah. That being said, maybe I should talk about faith, because I think everybody should be relying on their faith and their prayers these days to make sure that we get the best possible outcomes in the world. When it comes to being a Christian, and I'm a Canadian, I think a lot of us Canadians are kind of like not that keen on amplifying the fact that we're Christian too loud. I think we're a little bit softer spoken in terms and politeness in terms of these topics. But, of course, we can be pushed too far. And that's what seems to be happening with the relationship with the United States and Canada right now. So, elbows up is the funny new saying for Canada. That's all fine and dandy. And as far as every conflict that occurs in the last 3-4 years, there's these gigantic media pushes of propaganda going out to try and give these cliche kind of statements and positions. The government of Canada needs to focus on governance and not get embroiled in culture too much. And I think that was the demise of Trudeau. He got embroiled in culture too much, trying to be an advocate, the creator. And the creator then, only then, when you surrender to him, provides you the wisdom, provides you with the insight, gives you the tools, gives you grace and understanding on what to do next in life. And that boils down to everything, even the renovation of my cottage. When I don't surrender to God's will, it doesn't go well. When I do, there are little miracles that happen all the time. Like I will have exactly the amount of right screws for the job as I run out there, or, lots of little examples where idiosyncrasies line up. And for those who don't believe in God, well, I'm not here to lambaste you or anything about it. I just want to say that, you're missing out on a relationship with Jesus, which is amazing, actually. Quite amazing. Give you an exciting life. And then you start valuing life in a very different way, where you see it's not just about your legacy here while you're alive. You start looking at things with an eternal perspective. And, that links to your ancestors who've passed before you. And, of course, when you're getting older, these things start to come to your mind. And, so you want to understand that this is connected to everything and everything. Oh, an awesome day. Nice, cool temperature. Take advantage of it, I tell you, because once we hit June, July, August, like last year, it was hot. And it was like, when I was doing construction at the dacha, like you had to shut it down at 1 o'clock. It was too hot. Start taking the siestas like they do in the south, whether it be Spain or Mexico. That's what we were doing. Here in Russia, it was too hot during the day. So I'd be jumping in the lake all the time. This is a 26-minute rant so far. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm just walking around a school where they actually gate this off because people bring their pets and there was too much, of the little guys is doing their jobs in the grass, and then the kids are not going to be able to enjoy the, as they say in England, the football pitch. Been seeing a lot of videos of foreigners living in Russia as well. If you have time to search about them, there's Englishmen, there's people from Canada, there's Americans. And, most of them are because they've married to a Russian person or national, but some of them are not. I mean, some of them are just coming because they've left the West because of the extreme liberal culture. And generally it's because they're people of faith with large families, and they're terrified that their kids are going to get indoctrinated into those ideologies. And who can blame them? Who can blame them? I mean, I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I would be like terrified. And I don't know if I don't know what I would have done in those situations. I have friends obviously still in Canada, and, they're parenting kids, and wow, it's a difficult job now with the social pressures going on and the extreme liberalism. And, I believe in respecting people and treating people fairly. But it looks like there are extreme parts of that culture that we're no longer being respectful to parents and taking advantage of their children when they're not around. And that's just not on, especially when it comes to medical procedures associated to it at young ages. Disgusting. And then, you can't tell me that's good, because those people, what if you change your mind 10 years down the road, you have a change of heart? Yeah, it becomes very difficult to not succumb to the dark side, we'll say. Okay, more positive topic. Ordering my wood. I'm going to be ordering the wood for the dacha. We're going to be going to school often here. It's going well. My gimbal microphone thing keeps hitting my gimbal here. Okay, we're at 29 minutes. I think I've said enough. What's going on geopolitically right now is that it seems like the Americans have moved a lot of air assets into the Middle East. Diego Garcia Island, B-2 bombers. Looks like there's a lot of activity in the Baltic, in the Black Sea, in the Middle East, around Israel, in Syria. And if the whole thing in Iran starts up now, if the Americans do attack Iran, well, I can tell you that I'm not sure the Western financial system will handle that, to be honest. I think you guys will be in a big load of trouble. You have gold prices, I think, that have exceeded $3,000 an ounce. And I used to be a gold bug and all that kind of stuff, and had decent positions held in retirement funds. And I saw this was going south a long time ago. And when it was time to move to Russia, I brought my assets here. So my assets are here. If the Russian economy collapses, well, we're just going to have to tough it out and live more simple. But I don't see that happening. I've been, of course, the financial system is under pressure, no doubt about it. And lending rates are extremely high. So those with money here are in positions of banks getting very decent returns. However, we know that that's not likely to last forever. So people now, as this conflict extends and sanctions extend and get more and more, understand that the more things escalate, the more unknowns are going to occur. And I wouldn't bet that the collapse of the Russian economy will ever hit a floor. I don't think there's a floor. So be careful what you wish for. Because I think the Western floor will hit a lot sooner than the Russian floor. As you could see how the Russians' sanctions backfired on Europe. They're all in decline. They're all deindustrializing. They're all panicking, the populations of Europe, that Russia's going to invade into Europe, which is a joke. You have to be a complete idiot to believe that. Scratch that. You have to be a complete believer in your Western institutions to believe that. How's that? You're very hardcore, supranational institutions like NATO, like the European Union, like losing your sovereignty from a nation perspective and handing it over to the EU for them to tell you what to do and think. Yeah, I mean, if you're in that camp, you probably have something to worry about, because your institutions are not going to last the decisions your leaders are making. Take Germany for perspective. They just quietly let Nord Stream get blown up, a major source of natural gas, which natural gas produces electricity and your industrial capacity. And they were already going so green that they shut down all their nuclear plants. So yeah, you want to see what's going on? Look at Germany. And remember that when the European Union financially goes into trouble land, who was bailing out traditionally the EU zone? It was Germany. Well, they don't have that money anymore. So if anybody starts faltering in the EU, there's nobody to come and rescue you. Especially now that the Chinese are not likely to rescue. The Saudis are not going to rescue. You know, think about the dollar and the euros, the euro dollar. Those currencies are reserve currencies, especially the American. And when you sanctioned Russia and confiscated its sovereign funds, you put a chill across the world of anybody who has big holdings in the euro and US, that if you cross the ideologies of these people, they can take your money. So there's going to be a consequence for that, because nations will try to make sure that they mitigate against getting the power of the dollar completely influencing their internal cultures. I don't know if I said that. I think that comes out well enough. Okay, I'm Marcel. That's Monday morning. Walk around the park. I'm going to make this a segment of my new segment, Trajectory, and hopefully get it out today. But it might come out on a Tuesday. You might be hearing this on a Wednesday. But it'll be on TikTok and YouTube. God bless. Say your prayers. Pray for peace. And especially those who are in need of mercy.